You're watching The Ready Writer, a show where I get to speak to writers of all different genres, mediums, and experiences. The Ready Writer. Are you ready? Hi, you're watching another episode of The Ready Writer. I'm your host, Casey Bell, and today's guest is Wayne McFarland. Mr. McFarland is a former business owner and entrepreneur who wrote a memoir about his business ventures. Come along with me as we discuss his journey of writing and publishing his book, Tales from the Day. What was your earliest memory of you starting to write or realize you enjoyed writing?
Probably when I started doing ad copy and press releases when I had my own company and did a little stint as a reporter back in the day. I enjoyed it, but I realized I like writing feature stories a lot more. So,
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the book Tales from the Day.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, my wife and I, also my partner, we sold a company a couple of years ago that we'd had for 15 years or so. And I've always loved to read. And I've always loved to read memoirs. And so I started reading a lot of memoirs, and I have to tell you, most memoirs really suck. I mean, it's quite amazing. They're all the same, looking backwards. I looked at the horizon and I set my jaw and I said, there lies my destiny. It doesn't happen like that. I mean, my experience has been that you go along and you just fall into stuff. And whether or not you do anything with what you fall into just depends on whether or not you're willing to seize it. I suspect, for example, that if somebody pulled over the curb and said to you 5 years ago, what are you going to be doing in 2020? You would not have said this. I'm just guessing, but I bet I'm right.
No, this wasn't an idea at all.
There you go. And for me, I thought, what happens is that incidents happen, things happen that kind of bend you in a certain direction. So I decided I'd write an honest memoir. And some of the chapters are the day we pitched the loan shark and the day Johnny Cash hit on my wife and things like that. And each chapter was a standalone, like a complete story. And when I went to a publisher, they said, you're crazy. No one does that with memoirs. What you have to do is have a narrative arc. You start it, you get cancer or whatever. And then throughout the book, you have all these tribulations and maybe a couple of family members die and you overcome it all. And at the end, all is well. And I thought, nah. So we put it out there and, we live in a Twitter world now. As you know, 250 characters try to rule a day. And it proved to be a good format. Because people could, I've been told it's one of the best John books ever, because you can read a chapter or two, and when you pick the book up later, you don't have to remember what the plot was. Each chapter is kind of a standalone. So to answer your question, long-winded answer to a simple question, mainly because I read a lot of memoirs, and I thought most of them were self-serving and did not really reflect my experience as to how life really works.
Well, with that said, because I know when you're talking about anything in art, generally in America, they feel like there's a template every human being must follow instead of being unique.
Bingo.
So other than obviously you finding out that they wanted you to tell your story exactly the same way as everyone else did, what were some other things in the publishing process you found out that were surprising, were shocking, were things that you were not aware of prior to starting the publishing process?
Well, I had a publisher to start with. I have one now. But the publisher, after a year, I noticed they weren't selling any books, which seems to me to be kind of the purpose of being a publisher, right? So I fired them, and I was out on my own for a little while, and I have to tell you, every flim-flam artist and con person, I think worldwide, started emailing me. And there's a whole industry out there that profits over people's longing to be an artist or to be a writer in my case. And I'll bet you get it as a talk show host too. Just give us a few $100 or a few $1,000 and your show will be syndicated everywhere in the world, right? And same thing with, so that was surprising to me. I mean, some of the things were amazing. And I think I'm pretty sophisticated. I spent a lot of time in Hollywood and stuff, but even I got sucked into a couple of deals. So I wrote a little thing called You're an Author, Don't Get Hustled. And it has in it all the various hustles that you're going to find if you're out there trying to publish your book. Now, that's a shameless plug, but it's available on Amazon along with Tales from the Day. Ah, God, I love it when I do that, you know? Yes. So, again, to answer your question, I think what surprised me the most is that there's a whole huge industry out there that doesn't do any creative work. What they create are pitches to try and get people like you and me to give them money. And they don't do anything, but, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Actually, I get emails from people asking me, oh, we can promote your books for you. And they'll name the exact title that they saw. But then my question I want to ask them is, well, how did you even get my email? Because it's one thing when you contact me through my website, but when they send me a personal email, I'm like, well, how did you even find this particular email in the first place? Yeah. So it is received. But I guess, hey, everyone's trying to find a way to make money. So if they don't do telemarketing, they'll do email marketing.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And, you know, my reaction to all of this, I told one guy who even got my phone number. I said, you know, you seem like a nice guy, but if you spent half the time using your skills to do something legitimate, you'd be rich.
Right.
You know, it's sort of like a bank robber who goes to jail and scored $100,000 robbing a bank. But when you figure out the amount per week or month or year after you served 20 years in the slammer, it's not much, you know?
Right. It's not. So somewhat on the topic of the book, but off the topic of book.
Yeah.
So the book is about you starting your business. And again, there isn't, just like there really isn't school for publishing a book, there really isn't school for starting a business. So did you grow up in a family who owned their own business? Did you already have knowledge, or what was something in starting a business you were not aware in the process?
I don't think I came from what was considered a nuclear family, mother at home, father working. And I don't think my dad, bless him, made $30,000 the best year he ever worked. So to answer your question, no, I didn't come from a family with a business background. So the book, Tales from the Day, another plug, is really a series of chapters about learning experience, like the day my business was trashed by a worm, and the day we sparked a riot in Fargo, North Dakota. In other words, little vignettes about stuff that happened as we were trying to, get something going. And I never had a drive like some people do. You talk to them, I wanted to be a doctor from the time I was 3. And there's people out there who are like that, and I think, who does that? I mean, I never did. I just loved doing deals and going out and doing stuff. And so for a lot of years, I felt like I was kind of flailing around trying to find a place that long-term I'd be happy with. And, but there's a lot of folks who say anyway, that they had an idea from when they were very young as to what they wanted to do. I pretty much just wanted not to be dead by the time I was 60. I think that's a reasonable goal. So
that's, I don't remember age 3, so I don't know that the thing is, I've been writing my whole life, but I never wanted to be a writer. Yeah. It wasn't even on my mind to do it. So I don't know how people know what they want to do at such a young age, because I kind of knew. I'll say 5 years ago is when I really knew.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Prior to that, I really didn't have an inkling.
I think artists take a while for it to sort of settle in. And And, I'm always struck by, there was a songwriter, very, very popular back in the 30s, 20s, 30s. And he wrote many, many American classics. But he never considered himself a songwriter. He considered himself a playwright. And he wrote the worst plays on God's earth. Then he'd need some money, so he'd write a hit song. And they would say to him, "You're a songwriter." No, I'm a playwright. But he was actually a brilliant songwriter. So, I'm not surprised you came to it late. A lot of us, I was writing for years, but most of it not novels.
Right.
You want a press release? I'm your guy, And then after a while I thought, I enjoy doing this, so why don't I write about my own stuff? And there you go.
Cool. Okay, so last question, kind of make you think a bit. So dead or alive, if there is an author out there you can have a conversation with, who would it be?
Probably Tolstoy. And the reason being is, I'm interested in the mindset. He wrote, as you know, the most ponderous books, I think, on earth. I don't know, the muse sat upon his shoulder and said, you could write that in a paragraph, so do it in 6 chapters. And so probably he'd be someone I enjoy talking with, although it'd be like a scene from a movie where the hero kept pouring gasoline on himself because he was talking to so many boring people. So talking to somebody like Tolstoy, who'd write 600-page books, at the end of which the hero or heroine will always die. What? I think it'd be interesting.
Tales from the Day is an amazing book by author Wayne McFarland. Let's hear some of the reviews.
McFarland is one hell of a storyteller, and a good guy to have along when you get thrown in jail. Mike Delaney, author Cyclone Bobcat. Entertaining, funny, and well written. The Rushers would be proud. Ken Bangs, author of Guardians in Blue.
McFarland's prose is colorful and conversational, filled with sharp details and wonderfully evocative asides. These are stories for around the campfire. Readers should thoroughly enjoy these feats of boldness, chaos, wit, and luck. A collection of anecdotes, in the classic sense, happenings meant to thrill and entertain. Kirkus Reviews.
Tales from the Day by Wayne McFarland, available at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and independent bookstores nationwide. For more information, visit talesfromtheday.com. Well, that is all the time we have today on this episode of The Ready Writer. Thank you for watching. And if you'd like to be a guest, click on the link in the description. Thank you again for watching. Have a great day.